let's move into the Molly Motorsports segment. And after this ad read, we'll be bringing on Mr. Chuck.
All right. Racers and high performance enthusiasts, are you ready for your next engine build? If so, there is no better time than now to check out Molly Motorsports all in one Power Pack Piston Kit. With over 1,200 applications, these kits come complete with pistons, rings, wrist pins, and clips, all designed to work together. Molly Motorsports Power Pack Piston Kits take out all the guesswork. No more trying to determine if a piston will need this ring to work with a certain cylinder size. Molly Motorsports did all of the engineering so you can get the part that matters, which is building a power plant that leads to victory lane. Make sure to visit mollymotorsports.com for more details. And as always, our podcast listeners, Molly is spelled Mahle.
Oh, man. All right, let's get this guy on here. I'm excited to have him on with us tonight. Mr. Chuck, please introduce yourself. Tell everybody. Nope, not that one. Where am I at here? What am I doing? Oh, there we go.
You got
It's
it.
like
You'll get it. You'll get it.
Dude, I'm out of practice, man. It's weird. I feel like we haven't done this in a long time. Man, introduce yourself. Tell everybody what's going on, and kind of how you got to here, and then we're going to talk about some history and the shop and all that stuff.
Yeah, my name's Chuck Stefanski. I'm part of the owner or one of the owners of Big Three Racing. Obviously, we got Rick. I think Rick's been on with you guys before. Rick Trunkett with the Duster, and then we got Bob Hess with his purple Hemi powered Fox. So I know both of those have gotten a lot of attention as well.
Yeah, we need to have Bob on soon. And then we bring all three of you guys on.
Yeah, I could tell you how it would go with Bob. He would just sit there and stare at you. So I don't know if he's going to be the best one yet, but I guess if we get all three of us together, it would work out well.
Yeah, that would be a ton of fun. Well, like we were talking before the show, man, I'm excited to talk about the shop. Obviously you have one of the most creative vehicles that's out there. Everybody that's not under a rock will know the Pontiac wagon with the zoomies that come out, and is the loudest car on the property for sure, I think. But I want to start out. I want to know, like, what did you first drive? What was your first car? Like a dude that's in your spot in life. How did you end up with this, and what did you start with?
So it's kind of funny because it was a G body. I actually had a '86 Cutlass, but it was a 4-door, so also kind of unique. But it was single one owner. I mean, it still had stock exhaust on it, 307 V8. I mean, it was as bone stock as you could get, and paid $800 for it, and it got me, to work and to school and everything else. But it was actually obviously the first car I ever did a burnout in, and I can tell you that, including Rick, but we would drive around, and Bob, we would drive around, and it did one tire fire. So only the passenger side tire would spin, but I had 3 or 4 spares in the trunk. So we would go until it popped, just that one tire, jack it up, take that tire off, put another one on so I could get to work. And this is something we would do like on our way to work, like just down a back road for no reason, like no cameras, no nothing. Just everybody would stand around and watch me do a burnout.
That's awesome.
I've been doing burnouts for a long time.
Yeah. Well, I think you're probably pretty good at them. We see these, the car obviously on the track doing burnouts, but, man, this thing is really one of the funnest cars to watch, and you guys pack it down. You can see people in here. It'll hold 4 people, right?
Oh yeah. It's got 4 Kirkies in it. The back ones are like the low rise, like roadster buckets that we had to get a little creative to make them fit between the wheel wells, but especially it's a 650 cert cage too. So I mean, that's a lot of cage in that car in order for us to all fit in there. And we loaded up. I mean, that other picture you put up right before that, I mean, that was our first sick week, which was not last, so 2024 sick week, and no trailer, and also the very first time the car had ever been on the road, so completely untested. I can tell you that, like, I made that roof rack, and it had never been tested on the car. Like we showed up and I think we're in Orlando is when we started, and took 2 trips with an F-250 to unload everything we were taking. And that was kind of my first thought, like, well, this might be a little too much, but at that point it was too late. So we just stacked it. The whole inside of the car was completely full. And I'll tell you, it probably had to weigh 7,500 pounds, 7,000 pounds. I mean, it was we got 1,000 pounds of man in there. You know, I mean,
Yeah, right.
it's a heavy, and the car was 3,550 to begin with. So, I mean, it was,
Oh yeah.
I think actually that year or that for that one, we were actually just over 36, like 36.25, because we were
That's
still running
crazy.
85 and had our water tank and everything like that. So,
Yeah, the roof rack blew my mind when I saw it. Hang on, I think there's another shot. Yeah, that Chris Story took here. This is one of my
yep.
favorites, man. Look at just how tall that is.
Yeah.
And you could see from the one picture that you posted to that one, there's 3 pack outs instead of 4. So when we
Yeah.
got to Bradenton, you know, we stopped about 5 minutes into our trip, and I'm like, I don't think we should do this. Like, this car is brand new. Can't tell you how many hours and how much money is in this thing, and I'm going to destroy it by trying to drive it with all this weight on it. So
Yeah.
we some people talked me into still making it to Bradenton. We made it to Bradenton, and I unloaded everything I didn't need. I took an extra impact out of there. Every metric socket I had in there, I took out. Left a cooler. I mean, I left everything at Bradenton that I knew I absolutely did not need.
Man, that's
Wow.
crazy.
Kept going.
That's awesome. Well, let's talk about let's keep talking about the car because I had in there. Let's talk about Big Three, but let's talk about Big Three in a minute. Dude, tell us why. Like, why the wagon?
So I wanted to do a drag and drive car for 4 drag and drives. I took my wife's white 4th gen Trans Am, and
Mhm.
it was an 850 car. I mean, plenty fine, nothing too crazy, but I wanted to go faster. So I had already had this car, and it was a no prep car with a big block, originally with a 4-liter Whipple. Then I went to the Pro Charger. It was just doing, you know, no prep, like into the track, back into the track, no prep stuff. And I was actually looking for like an old Top Sportsman car or something that was already 6.0 or 650 cert, because anyone that's ever built a car knows it's actually cheaper just to buy one than it is to
Mhm.
build from scratch. Well,
Well,
this one
and you
was
don't have to wait. You don't have to wait
oh,
on
100,
chassis.
yeah, 100%. So in the meantime, this one was at the chassis shop, and to get a long travel front suspension and you know, put the fiberglass front clip on it and a bunch of other stuff, and maybe update the cage in it. And one thing led to another, and it was supposed to just be a 750 cage. And then I said, well, if we're doing it, if there's anything else we can do to go a little closer to a 650, then I'll bring it back. Well, it turns out it just ended up being a 650, because by the time you get so close, it's a couple grand more and a few more bars, and you got a 650. So
Yep.
that became, at that moment, once I knew I was upgrading to that cage, I said, this is going to be my drag and drive car. We got to figure out how to put 4 seats in it, because you know, there's a lot of work to do on this car, especially when we had the roof rack. But I mean, we're changing suspension, like we're knocking ball joints out to change out the front struts every pass. We're pulling the blower off. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we're doing. So if I got 4 people, plus every time we break down, it's just 3 people to push instead of 1. So I mean, you know, everything we can do, it's so much nicer to have that many people with you, and to be able to like legally sit in there and compete with us is just awesome. We've had the same team since the first sick week. So, I mean, very,
Wow.
very happy about that.
Well,
Yeah.
and you talk about like just having people with you. There's no way I could do a drag and drive by myself. I need that conversation, and to have 3 other dudes in there. Oh man, I
Oh,
can't
it's just,
imagine the conversations going on.
yeah, it's a riot. I mean, and we're nonstop laughing. Luckily, like the first drag week or sick week, we didn't even have headsets, so we had earmuffs and then just plain out yelling at each other. So,
Yeah.
and then I upgraded to the rugged radios, where I'm actually we're able to talk. We got music going. We got the turn by turn directions going. I mean, it's just, but it's so much fun. You know, normally I just look into the passenger seat and see my co-pilot Ray sleeping, but you know, everybody else in the back seat anyways is having a great time. And you know, it's just so much fun. You know, I told somebody a long time ago that, you know, this is racing, but it's also just driving the countryside with a few of your
Mhm.
best friends. You know,
Right.
I mean, it's just a dream come true, really.
Well, and there's a lot of it that I was explaining to somebody the other day. It's really like a race car guy's vacation, right? We don't if you have a race car that is fast, you don't put it on the street. And so a lot of guys don't. And so, I spend part of my weekends a year with like Pro Mod and top dragster teams and things like that. And it's so weird to me because I'm like, you guys are just here all weekend? This is what we do. Like you just like we need to like bring a cool car and let's go drive around or something,
Right.
because you don't you just don't get that camaraderie, man. Everybody says camaraderie all the time, but you don't get that experience of being out and doing big burnouts on the street for people.
Right. Yeah, and it's really just it's completely different. I tell a lot of people that too, that the drag and drive stuff is different than any other type of racing. I mean, I've done bracket racing, I've ran with NMCA in the past, I've done heads up small tire radial stuff. I mean, all types of stuff. Dirt, not dirt roundy round stuff, but dirt drags. I actually used this car in the dirt drags once, and it was actually almost as fast as my modified turbo Razor, which was insane.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, it's completely different. Everything else, everybody's out to get each other and try to prove themselves and beat the other person. Well, you get a little bit of that, but really, I mean, if the number one guy, you're sitting number two, the number one guy needed something, you're going to give it to him. And same thing, if you needed something, he would give it to you if he could. I mean, so and I try to tell people that, and like most other racers are just completely, it blows their mind that it's like that, but that's really what it's like.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about the car itself. Tell us a little bit about the build, kind of engine setup, and all that stuff.
So yeah, it's a 81 Pontiac Grand Le Mans Safari wagon. So it's always a mouthful, but yeah, I guess you don't have to say the wagon because that's technically what the Safari is. But just to make sure everybody understands, it's actually a station wagon. But it is a pretty traditional big block Chevy. It's a 540 cubic inch with a world block. I just upgraded to Brodix hip 380 heads, so that's new this year. I got the Thompson billet intake on it, Manton push rods, the Pro Charger. I had a F3 112 all of last year. So over the off season, with the head upgrade, we also changed the Pro Charger to a 130. So we were finally maxing it out. At 35 pounds of boost, we finally maxed out the 112, which was remarkable on such a big engine. But it does have a Windberg billet crank, aluminum rods, Wiseco pistons. So I mean, it's a pretty solid setup up front. We were running a Power Glide all up until this past weekend. We actually went to a close ratio 3-speed to help keep the boost up there, which was a tremendous help. It just took a few passes to kind of get a handle on it, but we were able to get that figured out. But 9-inch rear end, I got Viking coilovers on it, Holly Dominator. Rewired the car a couple times last year, but just because we had to rush it for the first sick week and then came back and completely did it again. But we got the ECU Masters PMU in there controlling everything, so that's been a huge help too. I'm able to program stuff like the brake controller and assign different circuits to different things just with my laptop and make the way it works differently, cool. Like turn signals and horn and all that stuff is just really, really cool.
Yeah.
And then, so you were talking about struts on the front earlier, swapping those out. Do you also change rear shocks?
So on the rear, I did for the first sick week, and then I ended up building in a thing where I can pop an airbag in and out. So it's like the same airbag people put on the back of their F250s or 350s. I think it's rated at 5,000 pounds. So I've been using that, and then we can adjust it depending on how much weight we have in it. And I also use that for trailering the car. So you're not putting all that extra stress on everything in the back. And then just kind of lock it out that way. The other thing I was going to mention too, that a lot of people probably don't know. So I switched over from E85 to methanol, and however, everything the car does, anytime it's not in boost, it's running on 93. So I have dual fuel rails, dual fuel systems, dual injectors, but where a lot of people change their lines and switch valves and all that stuff, I don't. So I roll up into the burnout box, I'm on 93. As soon as I hit the gas, the computer automatically switches over to methanol. I do my burnout. When I back up, it's on 93. And then the same thing. So when I take the trans brake, it immediately switches over to methanol. So I don't have to worry about milking the oil and all that stuff either, which is super nice. And I go through like a gallon of meth a pass compared to 2 or 3 with all the idle time.
Well, that's awesome. And I love the technology that people are using for that. You know what I mean? Like a full secondary fuel system. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago with the D-Works guy. Like that's a big deal because you're not burning all that methanol. But then
Right.
two, like there's no big switch over. There's no drain the tank, put it in. Then oh shit, I forgot. When you get up to the line, now you've got to. There's no way you would go back to the pits, especially at an event like Sick Week, Drag Week, where you may not get a second pass in that run series.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, like I said, we have a lot to do. That's one less thing we have to do.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, we have to drain a little bit of 93 out just to make the weight bias right. Because I got an 18-gallon fuel cell back there. But I mean, I really try to just make it as easy and effortless as possible. And that was one of the things that we decided to see if we could make it work, and it did. So we've kind of stuck with it, all last year, and then still going strong with it this year.
Are you on a mechanical pump or a electric pump for the meth?
I have a mechanical pump, a Waterman. It's like 18 or 19 gallons per minute, and it's ran off the Pro Charger drive, which I take off on the drive anyway. So that fuel pump stays there, and it's just kind of zip tied out of the way when I'm taking the drive. So we don't drain the methanol or anything. It's just kind of sitting up there, but we don't have it pumping through the fuel rails or anything like that.
Yeah, and I see Jay here was asking the same question. Are you using an electric clutch on the Waterman pump, or are you putting the belt on and off? So are you probably just
So it's all part of the Pro Charger drive. So it's a belt encased in a chunk of billet. So it's 2 bolts that pops right off, and it's a V band. So I mean, I'm already taking the blower off, so it's an extra 30 seconds to pop that fuel pump drive off. So it's super nice.
How cool, man! That's awesome. The reason that I went down that road there was trailer burnouts, because I'm sure the car has no problem doing burnouts on the street on 93, but
Right.
how
Yeah,
do you have like a 93, 91, 93 tune in there, and it knows not to think it's on methanol?
well, so the methanol doesn't do anything until you get boost. So right about 1.5 pounds of boost, it starts to transition. Then it's all in by 2 pounds. So
Right.
it's very quick acting. However, since we don't have a Pro Charger on it at the time, driving on the street, it'll never see boost. I just actually put a cone filter, where the Pro Charger goes, so it would never see it. However, I'm like the guy to do trailer burnouts normally. I have yet to do one in this car, and I don't know if I sabotage myself, but I only put 50-pound injectors in it for the 93. So I don't think even naturally aspirated, the 50-pound injectors would be enough.
You're pretty smart, man.
So
Plus at like 5,000 pounds, with everybody and all the stuff in it, like that could be detrimental to some
it could
driveline stuff,
No, 100%.
Yeah. Well, we're seeing that more and more, where cars are getting faster, and so you end up with, we're relying on these guys running these, 9 and 10-second cars to do burnouts for us, man. That's
right.
so if you've got
when
9 and 10, 12-second cars, you're our burnout kings.
Yeah, I used to do the biggest trailer burnouts with my wife's car, and I mean, we're talking like 1,000-foot long burnouts without a problem at 90 plus miles an hour. But that was a little different. I actually did once with a cracked crank on day
Nice.
4, and then continued to drive it with 5 psi of oil pressure, lay down a couple more 8-second passes, and then tell her she needs new turbos, new motor, and everything else. So really did it in on that one.
That's awesome.
Well, let's switch gears here a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about Big 3 racing. Do you want to give us a little history on all of Big 3, how that kind of came about and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I mean, we started back in January 1st of 2007. So I mean, we've been doing it for quite a while now, and we all went to school together, and we all had this dream. Hey, we don't want to work for somebody else when we get done with this. We went to college for building race cars. So when we got back and done with school, we said, let's do something. So, and we had all kinds of stuff and nowhere to put it. We all moved back in with our parents. So we got a little 3,000 square foot shop and worked with jacks and jack stands, no lifts. I mean, we had no capital or anything like that. So I actually sold a truck to get the down payment on the shop, and kind of made it work. And from then it just kind of kept growing. We moved a couple times, and kind of touch base on what we do. We really do anything American V8, V10, rear wheel drive. and now with the all-wheel drive stuff, we do some of that stuff as well. But we do a lot of Vipers, a lot of Hellcats and stuff, EFI tuning, a lot of fabrication stuff, no cages and no body work. But I tell everybody everything but that we'll do.
Yeah.
And, we'll do complete rewire jobs and, like I said, turbos and all kinds of stuff. We sell a lot of parts as well. But yeah, last year, we actually had a catastrophic fire, and I mean, it just total loss. That was back at end of July last year. So, I mean, everything pretty much burnt to the ground. We have a video on our YouTube page of it that it took a little bit to edit and to make, because it was pretty heartbreaking to see everything. So, we did that, and we've actually been working on a new shop, and that's all day today. That's what I was doing. We're actually putting one of the dynos in the ground, so that was exciting, and transporting that. But yeah, you can see it there. That is our new facility, and it's actually located at Dragway 42 in West Salem, Ohio. You can see the track. We're 500 feet from the starting line, just under 500 feet from the starting line is our front door.
Right.
So,
and that's what I want people to understand about this picture. You're looking at this picture and it's like, oh, it's out in the country. And then you flip it to the other side. That's literally the drag strip.
Oh yeah. And it's not just any drag strip. We've been racing there since before it changed hands and before it was renovated. So back in, I think, like 2015 or so, there's a huge renovation on it. I mean, they actually turned the track the other direction. And I mean, I couldn't tell you how much money they sank into it, but it is one of the best tracks and best surfaces I've ever been on. And to be able to be a part of that, and we sponsored that track heavily. We've always raced at that track, but to actually be now like on the facility, like at the facility, is absolutely amazing. So we're going to have a lot of parts in stock for racers. We have met with some of them, but especially all the bracket racers and stuff like that, when they do the points weekends, we're going to stock all the Holley fuel pumps and some tires and some fuel and all that stuff. But to be able to have all that at the track is going to be, I think, a game changer, let alone if somebody needs something welded or something like that. I mean, we're going to have 7 welders there. So, and all that capability. But one big thing, so we've always had 2 dynos, not always, but we've had 2 dynos for some time, 2-wheel drive and an all-wheel drive. So the biggest thing we're adding now is actually a hub dyno, so mainline 6,000 horsepower capable hub dyno. So to have a hub dyno at a racetrack where somebody can come out of town, test on the dyno before they hit the track, and then go the next day or the next day after that, or even same day, and run their car down the racetrack, down a full quarter-mile racetrack, I think is going to be something kind of unheard of.
Yeah. I mean, there's very, very few facilities that would be on site like that. I mean, I literally can't think of any, performance oriented shops that are on site of a drag strip.
Right. Especially, I really want to, like, just to hit on how phenomenal of a track it is too. Like it'd be different if you just had, a little 8th mile track, which I'm not knocking. I mean, the little homegrown, 8th mile tracks are important to everybody. But to be able to have something like this on a premier facility that people are going super fast on is just, really awesome.
Well, and to be able to I mean, literally fix it on site, like, if somebody breaks a bar or something like that, that they could wheel it over.
I mean,
so
yeah,
are your
absolutely.
new hours like Wednesday through Monday? Are you gonna take time off, or are you guys gonna be just balls out 24/7,
I don't
365 now?
definitely not something we've thought of 100% yet. So for now, we're going to keep the Monday through Fridays, and then probably a part-time guy there on at least the big event weekends. So that's kind of how we're going to play it by ear. I do live 9 miles from the track, so
nice.
It might be something where track management calls me if they need in, or somebody needs something, and I can get somebody over there. But yeah, we're going to kind of play it by ear. It's hard to say, to have somebody full time there on the weekends. Like if you're not needed, then it's going to be hard to justify that. But if there's a need for it, we'll definitely be there and help the customers, or help all the racers.
So how did the conversation come about to actually build at the racetrack?
So, like I said, we've had a really good relationship with the what now is actually the previous owners of the track, but we were actually talking about it the January prior to the fire, saying, "Hey, someday we should do this." and everybody, they were extremely excited about it. Said, well, give us a year or two, and probably 2 years, and we'll make that a priority, and we'll make that happen. So it was kind of already in the works. And then actually the day after the fire, that was on a Friday, that Saturday, we had a huge radial small tire race that we heavily sponsor and we're going to compete in. And I seen the owner down there on the starting line. So obviously I walked up to him and like, yeah, you have to talk a little bit and see if we can move this timeline up a little bit, because it's a huge facility. So, you're looking at almost 20,000 square feet, and you don't want to move again. So I told him, this is our one chance to do this, because we have to rebuild. We only have so much time to rebuild or move somewhere. So we have to do this now, or we're not going to do it. So luckily he really understood that and said, okay, let's do it. So and you can, we have all the videos of the shop build so far, to date, and on our YouTube page, but you can see like the blueprints. Like I did that by hand on my kitchen table, and I did them probably 20 times on a piece of poster board and making changes, had little cutouts of cars and lifts and, where the dynos were going to go, everything to scale. So I could try to figure it out, kind of almost build our dream facility.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, we're so excited about
link
it
here. Yeah, I'm dropping the link in the comments for folks to your YouTube channel. Super cool stuff, man. I love it. I think I'm hoping this opens the door to a lot of facilities to be able to do something similar to this. I think it'd be really awesome for tracks across the country because it gives them another reason for people to come to the track, right? They're there picking up parts that you guys ordered for them. They're getting their car built. They're dynoing their car. The more people can drive through that front gate of that track, the better. Or the back 100%. Gate, whatever,
No, yeah. And I think it's going to be really cool. If somebody's there dynoing their car or picking up their car or waiting for their car to be serviced or whatever it is. If there's a track rental going on, which is almost every day at this track, that, they could see it, they could probably wander over and watch, so, just, and even for our employees, they are so stoked to be able to eat their lunch at the 8th mile, at the stripe and watch cars go down or whatever. Like that's, it kind of hits you like from our dynos, like our dyno building, actually any of the buildings, from the door, you can see the scoreboards. So like,
nice.
Even if you can't see the car, leave the starting line, because it is sunk down. Like it's like an amphitheater set up racetrack. And whenever you're inside the building, you can watch the time slip or see the towers.
How cool.
Yeah, that's just really, really awesome.
That's really cool, man. Let's wind down here. We got about another 6 or 8 minutes. I want to talk about. You messaged me a couple months ago, and we were trying to put together that you now hold or were shooting for the centrifugal blower record, right? And I think that was Sick Week, right?
Correct. Yeah, I was really shooting for it the original Sick Week or my first Sick Week, but I was limited to my license. I wasn't able to get my license passes in, so I had to lift every day and just coast to right around 750 to 775. So I know I didn't get it at that point. And then for drag week, I finished with a 728 average, I think it was, or 27 average, which I believe set the record. I couldn't find anything that said otherwise. And then for this Sick Week, I reset it again. And I'm sure somebody will say otherwise if I didn't actually do it, then it'll just force me to go even faster. But we went just a little bit faster with a 26 because of where we're at. We were really slow all week, but we were consistent. Sick week this year was a little messed up with that day one and only getting one pass and really messed a lot of people up. So I was trying not to be one of those people all week and just play it safe.
Well, let's talk about Sick Week for a minute because that day one did throw some wrenches, man. We saw like one story of the big wrench is Tom Bailey. He's out there. A lot of testing on that car, trying to get ready for it, looking for a 5-second, crosses the center line, and now ends up, he goes and buys a car. Now he's a cheap car challenge racer.
Right. Yeah, and I was actually talking to him in the hotel lobby at the bar the night before that, and he said if I don't run a 5 every day, I'm going to sell the car. So like, knowing that he couldn't, I knew he wasn't going to take it on after watching that pass and him crossing center. I
Mhm.
knew he wasn't going to compete all week.
Yep.
There's no way he was going to try to turn in a 20 on day one because
Yep.
he has a goal in it, just like we all do. And his
Yep.
goal is to have a 5-second average.
Yeah, and I wanna commend him, man. It'd have been real easy for him to go, oh well, hey, we're not counting day number one because not everybody got their passes in, but they
Right.
didn't. They did. Obviously they're running an event that's more than just Tom Bailey running fives. So big
Nope,
shout out to
100%.
them. And then now he's got this other Camaro. Who knows what's going to happen with it? I'm sure it's going to come out and be fast. And those guys driving cheap cars has lit the world on fire with cheap car
Oh, it's
challenge.
so much fun. I mean, it makes us want to
Yeah.
do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody should have a car they don't care about at some point in their life.
Right, 100%.
So let's talk about day one of sick week. What'd you run? And then obviously you said you ended up with a 726 average, so you had to get down from there.
Yeah, I mean, really, every day it was like a bracket car. So every day I went like a mid 720 to a
Wow.
728, I think was my worst time, and my best was like a 21 or 22. But I was real nervous about spinning and not getting a second pass. So
Hmm.
our first pass every day was gonna make it count. So we only went like a 7 or a 126, 128, 60 foot. So super slow. I've been 110 in the car before. So,
Wow.
it just, yeah. So we were running really slow, only like a 479s, 475 to the eighth. And just, we were still mile an houring pretty good, in the mid 190s. So
Hmm.
that was good. It just, again, and Devin Vanderhoof with his Mustang was, leading with like a 630 average in our class. So we had no chance of beating him. He'd have to
Hmm.
have the worst day ever for us to beat him. So let's just secure our number 2 spot and
Yeah.
stay ahead of number 3. And that's all we did all week. Again, not the best way to do things to try to go fast, but at the end of the day, it's all about, or at the end of the week, it's about finishing and
Well,
and
yeah,
trying to
it's
place.
survival. Get to the end of the week.
Right.
And I think that's where like these guys in the pro mods and stuff that I hang out with sometimes they don't understand that. They're like, "Man, what are you talking about, surviving?" I'm like, "Yeah, but imagine trying to make passes in that car every day after you've driven it 300 miles, especially
Right.
like day one of sick week, man, I think 30 cars fell out just because of the drive."
Oh, it was brutal. We got in at almost, I think it was 5:50 in the morning,
Yeah.
and it was absolutely brutal. And like, speaking of like the modified, like I won the modified class at drag week, and I kept pushing the car. We made a couple extra passes every day. It wasn't necessarily a one and done, but we were trying to stay in number 1. So when you're already
Mhm.
at number 2, there's no point in really pushing on the car because you still have limited runs on
Yeah.
the car or on the motor or whatever you're doing. So you got to really try to make everyone count and don't spend, unless you're trying to for number 1. But I know I wasn't going to be able to easily with Devin. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's spin a little bit here. Let's talk about Sick at the Rock because again, we host a circuit which is a regional event. I love regional events. I think the weekend deals are a great way to bring in a ton of new people to the sport and community. So tell us how that went. Tell us how much fun you had. Obviously, you come home with a couple trophies, and that's always a big plus too.
yeah, actually it'll be 3 trophies. Just one's in the mail. They cleared that
Nice.
up right after I left and I wasn't turning around. So um, but yeah, so this I've done a couple with Tom Bailey whenever he did like the invitationals
Hmm.
at like an NHRA race or NMCA race. So I've done 2 of those, and it was part of 3 of those total. But so this was definitely a little bit different. But I think, I don't know, if you're thinking about getting into drag and drive, this type of event is for you
Hmm.
because one, you can test out your vehicle, unlike any other way. Because if you're like anybody else, or especially like me, you take your car around the block. You go 5 miles, and you're like, okay, it'll make it 1,000. Where this will actually make you go 50. At least,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. But and then being able to come back to the same track, like I still took a couple things with me just in case, because you could have problems.
Hmm.
And we were able to go get lunch together, and it's just, I don't know, it's just a lot different. But the run order was, or the running itself was really smooth and easy. The fact that he puts up over $30,000 to win just in the drag and drive portion of the race is unreal. It's $1,000 per category. I mean, that's we don't do drag and drives to make money. Everybody,
right,
everybody
you're in
knows
the wrong
that's done
business.
one.
Yep.
No, 100%. Like all these bracket racers and heads up racers, like why would you do that? And so then you have to explain to them how awesome it is. But it's hard to get people to understand it unless they do one. But
Right.
yeah, no, it's I mean, we're ready for Sick on the Green too. I mean, I'm excited for that one. It's a little closer to us. It's only 420 miles from us, so that one's a little closer compared to 600 miles away. But the fact that you're able to win money or win an award like this instead of just having predetermined classes, I think is a great idea. Let alone all the other pro mod classes and all the other classes that he has,
Like the traditional drag race stuff. Yeah. And that's
Yep.
what I thought was pretty neat, was like giving trophies like this. Like this is for the quickest 4-door and then quickest supercharger. What's your third trophy that you're gonna get?
So that was actually most consistent. And
sweet.
that was a fluke. But yeah, we turned in a 557 pass or 457, and then we turned in a 455.38 and then a 455.18. So we were 0.02 of a second between the two passes I turned in. And
How cool.
Yeah, it wasn't on purpose. Nobody tries to have a 450 street race, street car, but that's consistent. But I did. So it worked out well.
That's awesome. Well, man, that kind of wraps up. Tell everybody where they can follow you guys. And listen, I want to have all you guys on. I think maybe you and Bob and Rick on would be a great guest.
No, that would be, we would love to do that someday. But yeah, you can follow us on Facebook, just Big Through Racing, Instagram, and then also our YouTube page. So we actually have a video dropping this weekend about our first day of testing it, Sick at the Rock, and then right after that will be our other the actual event, and then we have another build video coming out next week as well, coming out on the building, so in the whole new shop.
How cool.
Awesome.
And big shout out to Matt Zelenko, who does a lot of your stuff. He follows you guys on the Sick events and Drag Week and stuff like that. Him and I ended up in a van together, slept in the van.
I was gonna say, I thought you guys rode together one day. So
yeah.
Yep. No, that's awesome.
Yeah,
he's awesome. He's been great.
Yep. Yeah, he's a good dude. Well, man, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I appreciate it. We got to get rolling with this show, but listen, I do want to have you guys back on, and man, let's go like an hour and a half with all three of y'all. I think that'd be a ton of fun.
No, absolutely.
Nitty gritty on these Gen 3 Hemis and stuff.
Oh yeah, no, we can do that. I appreciate it, guys.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much. How cool, man. I really like those guys. They really are having a blast all the time whenever you're talking to them. See them in the pits, all that kind of stuff. They're having a good time. And the cars they build are super cool. I mean, a Gen 3 Hemi, Fox body that's got turbos. You've got Rick's Duster, and then you've got this crazy wagon we were just talking about with Chuck. So super cool to see them and them be out and about and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, one thing I'll have to ask him next time because I know we're close on time, but I was always wondering what kind of reaction he gets when he pulls into the gas station with that thing. It's gotta be fun.
I wonder if it's my mom had one just like that, but without the zoomies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All the time. All right, man. Let's rock through this here. Again, big shout out to Molly Motorsports. They've been on board for a long time. Love those guys over there. They are amazing. Scott and Eric and Adam. A message today asking if Adam is going to be at the Circuit 2025 round 2, and hopefully, fingers crossed, or maybe we need to give them some peer pressure. So if you would love to see Molly at the Circuit, please let us know over there in the comments, because I know Adam had a great time last year. So again, thanks to them.